afternoon. I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday, February 11th. Corpus Christi City Council met yesterday. Here are the highlights from Tuesday's meeting. City Council members approved a $28 million groundwater rights purchase and sale agreement with ERF Real Estate, Inc. The deal will expand the western well field and is projected to enhance the city's long-term water supply capacity. The agreement secures groundwater rights beneath more than 2,400 acres in Nueces County. The property includes both surface and groundwater rights as provided by ERF Real Estate, Inc. Also in Tuesday's meeting, council members awarded a $15.8 million construction contract to Bay Limited for the complete reconstruction of Alameda Street, stretching from Airline Road to Everhart Road in District 2. The existing roadway will be replaced with new concrete pavement. The project also will entail new curbs and gutters, sidewalks, new signage and lighting, and other infrastructure improvements. The reconstruction effort will also extend to Avalon Street and Robert Drive, both of which are adjacent to Alameda Street. The project is part of the City of Corpus Christi's Bond 2022 program, which was approved by voters. Council members also amended the city's project financing zone number 1 to support qualified initiatives associated with the convention center complex. The amendment refines the boundaries of project financing zone number 1, removing offshore portions that do not generate revenue. The move ensures the zone reflects areas that provide a direct financial benefit to the city. Incremental state hotel associated tax revenues generated within the revised zone will be deposited into a designated trust account for a 30-year term and be used to support eligible projects at the Hilliard Center, including its arena, convention center, and Selena Auditorium. And City Council members also approved the adoption of the Padre Mustang Island Mobility Plan, formally incorporating it into the Plan CC Comprehensive Plan. The Mobility Plan builds on earlier planning initiatives for both islands and takes a forward-looking approach to transportation needs in the area. The plan reviews current travel conditions and outlines strategies to improve how people move throughout the area and connect residential neighborhoods to activity centers on the island. Recommendations include safer, more connected options for pedestrians, bicyclists, golf cart users, and water travelers. A recent report from the Texas Commission on Jail Standards shows the Jim Wells County Jail was cited for failing to properly maintain documentation on inmate cell checks. KIII News reports the notice of noncompliance states the jail was unable to provide 11 out of 78 logs associated with required cell checks.
We were supervising the inmates appropriately. It's just that documentation wasn't being done the way it's required. The checks were done. We didn't have the paper on it. It was either lost, wasn't filed properly, or they didn't fill it out.
That was Jim Wells County Sheriff Guy Baker speaking with KIII. He said that security cameras confirmed that routine cell checks were conducted, but acknowledged the jail needs a new way to produce and store records. To return to compliance, Baker said the county will switch to a new software system to improve documentation and tracking. The program is expected to cost about $9,000 per year. Corpus Christi Mayor Paulette Guajardo and Nueces County Judge Connie Scott will hold a news conference this afternoon to discuss efforts to protect jobs at the Corpus Christi Army Depot. The 2:30 p.m. news conference at City Hall Council chambers will also include representatives from the South Texas Military Task Force and the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. We'll have more for you tomorrow during Morning Edition and South Texas Midday. The Rio Grande Valley Business Journal reports that developers filed permits with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation for several projects in the Valley area. Those include a multi-million-dollar park at SpaceX, Tesla chargers on South Padre Island, and a new hotel in Weslaco. The new private park planned inside the new center of Starbase will be on land owned by SpaceX, known as Starship Park or Building 42. The proposed project is expected to cost $13.8 million and will include a monument and an amenities building. Construction is expected to begin on Monday, February 16th and run through the end of August. Austin-based AE7 Partners is handling the park's design, according to records. The Rio Grande Valley Business Journal is in partnership with KEDT. Last night, the Taft City Council voted 4-1 in favor of terminating its contract with city manager Ryan Smith. Smith will remain in the role for 30 days under the conditions of his contract. Mayor Alida Castillo told Chris 6 News the vote followed the council's first opportunity to complete an evaluation of Smith's job performance, which was delayed last month because Smith was not available. Castillo said the decision came after, in her words, a difficult few months for the city, pointing to ongoing tensions between Smith and council members. Chris 6 previously reported that Smith sued the city council after accusing officials of violating the Texas Open Meetings Act at an improperly noticed meeting back in November, as well as interfering with his authority to manage city operations. Corpus Christi's Hall Pier will officially reopen to the public in about 2 weeks. A ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held on Tuesday, February 24th at 11 a.m. Nueces County Precinct 4 Commissioner Brent Chesney announced the pier will be free to the public for the first 90 days after reopening. Hall Pier has been closed since Hurricane Hannah damaged the structure in 2020. Construction and weather delays had pushed reopening beyond its projected dates. In sports, Miller Buccaneers football coach Justin Evans is leaving the school for 6A Denton Braswell in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The school board there approved Evans' hire last night. Evans will leave South Texas as the winningest coach record-wise in Miller history. He has an 84-36 record between 9 seasons with the Bucs and 1 in Alice. Before Evans took over in 2017, the Bucs were 3-27 in the previous 3 seasons. His story was featured in the latest season of KEDT TV's South Texas Leaders.
Our past experiences shape us. And so for me, I always tell our kids, if all I've taught you is how to run a football, how to catch a ball, how to throw a ball, how to run a route, then I failed you. My purpose and my responsibility, my obligation is to make sure that when you're 35 years old, you have to have the discipline to get up every single day and go to work for your family so that your family can have. That's what I'm trying to shape you for, because life is hard sometimes, and having that discipline to get up every single day is a lost art really in the community. That's why you see so many people who choose the alternatives, because they didn't have that discipline.
That was Evans speaking to Libby Averiett on South Texas Leaders last year. Miller's football team reached the region final 3 times under Evans' leadership. And President Trump's signature issue, the border wall, got a boost in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Among other things, it delivered billions of dollars for building the barrier through South Texas natural areas. And as Texas Public Radio's David Martin Davies reports, a fight is on to try to save the sensitive land.
The southern tip of Texas was once a literal jungle. The subtropical woodlands stretched along the Rio Grande, thick with sable palm trees and dense native brush. But since the 1920s, about 95% of it has been lost, turned into farmland. The Santa Ana National Refuge is one of the last remnants of that lost jungle, and it's known as one of the best bird-watching locations in the nation.
We saw water, gadwalls, and coots, pintails, northern shovelers.
Lori and Dennis Ashamal are a retired couple from the Twin Cities area of Minnesota and avid birders. They were troubled to learn that the Trump administration is now planning to build a massive border wall through this protected area.
I think it would be devastating to the wildlife out here. With the floodlights and everything, it's really hard on the migration.
A 2011 Texas A&M study of the Rio Grande Valley's nature tourism found that it contributed about $500 million a year to the local economy. That could be at risk if the new border wall segments are built. Nevertheless, an updated U.S. Customs and Border Protection map shows plans for a border wall cutting through the Santa Ana Refuge, the Benson State Park, the historic La Lomita Chapel, and the National Butterfly Center. Previously, all of these areas were off limits for border wall construction due to carve-outs passed in congressional appropriations. But that recently changed, according to Marisa Oliva, president of Friends of the Wildlife Corridor.
The unfortunate part is that the bill that just passed, the One Big Beautiful Bill, that law that passed last year in 2025, is not included in that prohibition section.
The One Big Beautiful Bill is a sweeping budget law formally passed last July 4th. Because it was a single giant reconciliation package, Republicans in Congress could pass it without the need for Democratic votes. The Triple B gave an additional $75 billion in funding for ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and over $46 billion for new border wall construction. Oliva is hoping that the current negotiations in Congress over reforms to ICE will restore the border wall carve-outs.
So unless we get that language in there, we are going to leave the gates wide open for funding to be used to build border wall here.
Oliva recently organized a rally at the Santa Ana National Refuge. On Super Bowl Sunday, over 100 people showed up carrying homemade signs demanding that wildlife be protected. They were trying to send a message to Washington, D.C., particularly to Congressman Henry Cuellar, a South Texas Democrat who is the ranking member on the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Homeland Security. That's the key post for this issue, and Cuellar was instrumental in securing those border wall carve-outs years ago.
So they're trying to go around the language that I added on prohibiting federal dollars for construction of fencing to protect those sites.
Cuellar said he's trying to block the border wall from being built in these special areas, but he says as a Democrat, he can only do so much.
I would ask the activists to focus their energy on the Republicans, because that's where I need help with.
The Santa Ana National Refuge is in Republican Representative Monica de la Cruz's district. She has not responded to requests for comments on the issue. In the Rio Grande Valley, I'm David Martin Davies.
And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.